Hi, it's Matthew Dickson of Mind Aid, and I want to tell you my story. I have schizophrenia, and I was diagnosed when I was 22 in 1994. And my childhood and youth, growing up into my teen years, I shouldn't complain much at all. I had a pretty decent childhood. I grew up in a small town in Canada, and I was smart, but I had problems, but nothing compared to what was going to come down the tubes with mental illness. I was diagnosed at 22 with schizophrenia, and before that happened, before I get into that, I did do one thing that I was proud that I did. I bicycled across Canada in 1992, and I was very happy I did that. That was a wonderful trip, and it wasn't. I shouldn't glorify it totally. There were. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it was. I had a lot of fun doing it overall, and I'm very glad I did it. When just a couple years later, schizophrenia hit me, and that was an entirely. That was. That's been the toughest thing I've ever done in my entire life, and it's taken a long time to recover. I there's so much unknown when you're hit with that, and I'm sure it's the same with other mental illnesses and other horrible things that can happen to a person in their life. And there's a lot of unknown, a lot of uncertainty. You don't know what the future is going to hold in store for you. You don't know if you'll ever get better. It's very scary. And what I'd like to tell people who are going through it now, who are in the early part of a disease like that, is that, well, for me and for mental illness, there are a lot of people do recover. A lot of people do get better. It's not horrible for everybody by any means. And after about 4 years, I was living independently, and I was able to work. And so even though I was doing things like that, after 4 years of recovery, it still didn't mean my life was easy. But the early part of my disease was very tough, but after that it lessens and it lets you go on for longer than you thought you could. When it first hit me, I thought it felt like I was setting out on this impossible journey. Like I was asked to do something that's just not possible to do, like running 100 meters in 5 seconds. That's just not humanly possible. And that's what it felt like I had to do every day, was do things, get up, go through the day, very long days. And it just didn't feel like it was possible. Minute after minute I had to fight to keep going and keep going and keep going. And you, that's one of the things I'd like to tell people, is that you're capable of so much more than you think you are. When you're put to the test, when you absolutely have to do something, you'd be amazed at what you're capable of. And year by year, things slowly improved. I noticed an improvement in my health every single week for years and years and years. Every single week I got better. And I there were the we're talking like, the phrase I like to use is glacially slow improvements in my health over years. They're very tiny improvements, but they added up, and I just kept improving. I got on a medication when I was first diagnosed. I stayed on it. I'm still on it today. I've taken it every day for 26 years now, and I never had a problem with substance abuse. And I didn't have much other things in my life going on, other factors that would hinder my recovery. I pretty much, the only thing that I really had to complain about was schizophrenia. And I led a pretty even keeled life. I didn't have a lot of ups and downs. Yes, I'm talking overall. Yes, I had ups and downs of that anybody would have in their life. How old am I? I'm 48 years old now, and yes, I had ups and downs throughout my recovery that are recovery related. But for the most part, it was pretty steady, and I'm thankful for that. So around 2012, things started happening. My improvements started happening more often, like sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes once every day, and those continued on for until now, like 2020. And Around 2018, I felt like there was light at the end of the tunnel. I thought, you know what, I think I might actually be able to do this. And the last couple of years, I've been sort of fine tuning, sort of tweaking my recovery. And the last couple of years, I've really started to feel like there's feelings of peace and contentment, things that I haven't had since I was a teenager in the 80s. So one of the things that I've done is I started reading up on how to get myself better, and I started doing that in the year 2000. I started going to my local bookstore, the libraries, reading up online on how to get me better, and a lot of books on people skills, mental health, uh, physical fitness, diet. I started reading up on finances, just sort of basic overall life skills, and I wish more people would do that. These are the knowledge I've gained has been invaluable for me, whether I had schizophrenia or not. So I also started reading in the last 10 years or so books on how to become an advocate for change, and I'm focusing on mental health. So I read up on books on how to build websites, how to get into public speaking, how to raise money, like fundraising, things of that nature. And in 2017, I I heard about mental health in developing countries and how bad it is over there. And it was something I never thought about. Some countries have one psychiatrist per million people, and some people with mental illness are actually kept in chains in some countries. And so in 2018, I was able to launch a website called MindAid, mindaid.ca, and I got into Facebook and YouTube, and I'm trying to make people aware of mental health in developing countries and how bad it is. Most people don't know how bad it is in a lot of places. So that's me in a nutshell, and I I hope to fight for mental health in developing countries for years to come. And I also, I'm in Canada. I'm here. I'd like to help people with mental health in any way I can. I also have a fitness website called easierfitness.net, and I started that in 2015. So, anyway, that's me.